Thank you, Charlene. It's amazing to be here, awesome to be here. So thank you, Nat, for the introduction and getting me on board. This is a perfect topic to follow on from Kim Knight's one, because I also feel like I have that big message of hope as well for people in times that do seem really crazy and scary right now. And there's a lot of fear around. And so for my talk, I really want to talk about, using business as a great vehicle in order to move our lives and the planet forward, because it's a great vehicle to actually help people and make important changes at this time that we're in. And doing that while thriving, but when there is kind of insurmountable odds stacked up against us, what feels like on a day-to-day basis right now, right? With lockdowns and COVID and, economies going all over the place. So interestingly, I have a story from when the last kind of big economic recession happened, which was the GFC in 2006. And during that time, I was in business, running a business as I do with my husband. And we were going through interesting times financially then. And like a lot of people, we had kind of stuck our heads in the sand. And we were like, oh, yes, we're, in this interesting place, but don't worry, it'll sort itself out. And so we kept going on like this for quite some time, until one night we actually sat down and went, you know what, we really need to find out where we're at financially. And I remember this night so clearly. It's still in my memory, because when we sat down and we added up our financial position, we actually discovered that we were $250,000 in bad debt. And that wasn't associated with any assets. It was pure bad debt. And how we got into that place is a bit of a doozy of a story, but part of it was stuff that was out of our control because of what had happened with the GFC. And part of the reason we were there was fully our fault, right? Overspending, over-consuming, spending money that we didn't have, extending our credit cards, all that good stuff that I'm sure, a lot of us can relate to, right? And so on top of this $250,000 of debt, we also had a 6-month-old baby, and I was suffering from postnatal depression, and my son was sleeping only a few hours a night. So it was pretty glum. Like my world, I just felt like I was in this deep, dark pit, and my world had closed in around me, and I just felt like I was in this impossible position that I couldn't get out of. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people at the moment who can kind of relate to this feeling, right? Because, over the last year, the world has changed in so many ways. And I know that there's a lot of people struggling financially, right? There's a lot of businesses that have had to close down and go out of business. So this was definitely, I would say, one of my darkest times in my life, right? And the thing with any time in your life is you have choices. You have choices about what you can do at these moments. And it was a real crossroad moment for us in terms of what we were going to do. We could file for bankruptcy and, go down that path and kind of get ourselves out of there. Not that it's easy to go through bankruptcy or an easy road, but a kind of, I guess, a smoother road as were. Or we could go, you know what, we're going to dig ourselves out of this massive pit we've got ourselves in and see if we can do it. And so that was really the place that we chose to go. We decided to go take responsibility for where we were at and go, we're gonna actually see if we can do this. We didn't know if we could, right? It felt like it was impossible. So we didn't know if we could or not. But we held on to the possibility and the hope that it was possible. And so every day, day by day, we got up, and instead of narrowing our focus, instead of narrowing our thoughts and our stories of what was possible, which often people do in times of crisis, right? You close down and you go, well, all of these things are wrong and I can't do this and that's impossible and that's not going to work. And you have all these things where you just shut everything down. And so you get into this narrow focus, very narrow focus of I can't, or that's not going to work. Instead of doing that, we really had to let go of those old patterns, those old stories, and those old beliefs about what was possible, because we had never been in the situation. We didn't even know anyone who had been in the situation. So we didn't know if it was possible to get out of this situation. But what we did change was we changed what was going on inside ourselves and what I call our inner game. Which is basically mindset, but it's a bit of an extension of mindset. It includes your energy and your attitude and your perspective and everything that's kind of going on in your internal world that then helps to create your external world. So we really, every day, were conscious of what we were thinking, of what our thoughts were, what our stories were around this, and also about what we could see. Because when we're in crisis, we narrow that down and we can't see any solutions or opportunities. So instead, we worked on every day opening up our perspective, opening up our ability to see opportunities, to see the possibilities of our next step, of what we could do. And like I said, it was day by day, it was step by step. And it took us over 5 years to get out of this place. So it wasn't like, I'm not here to tell you, hey, this was an overnight success, okay? Because it really was one foot in front of the other for many, many years until we got ourselves fully out of that financial position. And look, today, our net worth is healthy. We've got money in the bank. We're doing pretty good, right? And so the number one message that I want to instill into you guys is that there is hope. Just like Kim Knight said, like we, can feel like we're in these really dark times at the moment. But even when things feel impossible and the walls are caving in on us, there's still things that we can do. There's still actions that we can take. And there's still things that we can change to make things better and to get through for ourselves and for other people as well, right? Because it's not just about us, it's about helping us and our family around us, helping our friends and colleagues, helping the bigger, greater world out there, and looking after the planet as well. And so within this kind of structure of how do you create positive change in challenging times in business and in life, right? Because this is kind of applicable to both a business sense and a life sense. Is to look at two aspects of yourself, and that's what's going on in your inner world. What are your thoughts doing? What are your stories right now? Like, what are you saying to yourself if you are going through challenging times, or even if you're not going through challenging times right now, but you're seeing others go through challenging times too? What is it that is rattling around in your head? If you're in business, what are your stories? Are your stories that there's no clients out there, that people aren't spending money, that people aren't willing to buy? I have a number of clients right now that is their constant stream of thoughts that are going through their head. And I'm constantly bringing them back to go, that's your story right now that you're playing, but that's not the full truth. Yes, there's people out there that are struggling. And so no, they're not going to buy off you, but there's plenty of more people that are out there that will actually buy off you. And, every week I get messages from them and it's great when it's like, oh my goodness, I've got another booking, or I've got someone else, another sale. And they're like, I just didn't even know it was possible right now. And that was the thing where we closed down our realm of possibility, as it were, because of some stories we hear or because of what we see on the news. And it really shuts us down in terms of creating the business that we want, creating a thriving business, or creating the life that we want, right? And making the positive changes that we can actually use to move forward. So check in with yourself right now and go, hey, what has my primary stories been in my business? If you run a business, if you don't run a business, then what have my primary stories been in life? Does life have to be hard? Does it have to be a struggle? If you've got those stories going on, then that is more likely going to be showing up for you in your world, because, you know, we validate what we believe, those stories, those thoughts. And so that's what kind of comes in front of us to validate those feelings inside of us. So that's tip number one, your inner game, what is going on in your thoughts and feelings. Another one, and this is one of the most powerful tools I've ever learned. I learned it from my first business mentor. And it's around asking quality questions. So, you know, normally in life, we're actually going around asking really disempowering questions like, why am I so stupid? Why am I a loser? Why did I screw up again? Why can I never get ahead? Why will no one buy off me? Those are really disempowering questions, okay? And they're not going to help you to move forward in your business or in your life. And so I encourage you to flip that around and start to ask yourself really quality questions of, what can I do? What is possible for me in my business or life? What would it take for me to find an extra 3 or 5 or 10 clients in the next month? What would it take for me to make an extra $1,000 this month or an extra $5,000 this month? What would it take for a new client to call me today? All of these things are really quality questions that are actually going to give you more empowering answers than, why am I a loser? Why do I have no clients? Why is no one buying off me? So the quality of the questions that you ask yourself is really, really powerful in order to make an impact in your business. And I learned this this tool like 20 years ago or something, right? And I still use it every single day. It's one of the things that has really stuck with me, because I think it's one of the most powerful tools you can actually use for your life. So that's tip number 2. And then in terms of your outer world, okay, so working on your inner world, what's going on in there, the flip side of that is your outer world, which is also important, right? What action are you taking? And tip number 3 is to take action. So when we were $250,000 in debt, if we just sat around doing nothing and then put our head back in the sand, because that's kind of what got us there in the first place, right? If we did that, put head back in sand and go, I'm not taking any action, well, you're either going to stay in the same place, or you're probably going to go backwards, right? You're probably going to continue going backwards, and who knows where we would have got to if we didn't sit down and actually work out the figures that night, right? And so that's tip number 3, is take some action. But thinking about what is the right action, which is again another quality question. What is my highest priority action right now? Because I'm big in business of not working yourself to the ground. And so there's a lot of business owners and people in life in general that are running around taking a lot of action that's not causing any traction. And so look at what action you're taking and really assess what is actually creating results for me here and what is not creating results for me here. And that's really great. And when you do your test and measure, so test what's working in your business. If you've got things that are working, do more of that. If you've got stuff that isn't working, then look at that and go, is this important that I actually improve in this area, or can I let this go? Okay. Now the next tip, 4th tip, is your marketing. If you're in business and you're wanting new clients, then make sure that marketing is your highest priority action for the day. Okay, so set aside some time, schedule in some time for your marketing, because what happens often, most of the time, when people are in crisis, is they pull back from their marketing and they pull back from the very things, the very actions that are actually going to help them get out of that tricky spot. And so, and marketing is one of these things that brings up a lot of fear, it brings up a lot of doubt, it brings up a lot of uncertainty, it brings up a lot of our stories around, you know, our unworthiness or that we're not good enough, and our rejection stories. And so it can be really, really scary. But it's like, actually, this is the work, the action that we should be taking right now. So if you're in business and you are wanting to have a thriving business during this time, then I encourage you in that fourth tip to actually get out there and do your marketing, put yourself out there, and you can actually reframe marketing to be not about marketing and sales, but really just communicating the value that you have to bring to the world and actually how you can help people. Okay, so I know like a lot of people, most people, like everyone on here is pretty much heart-centered people who want to help people. And so it really is just about that, connecting with your heart and going and spreading that, that wisdom that you have inside of yourself. And then people are going to be attracted to that and come to you to work with you, because you're sharing something of really great value. So to kind of summarize, I just want to say that yes, we can feel like we're in some really, really dark times right now, but there is great hope for us. There's always hope, there's always choices, and we always have a choice as to what we're thinking, how we're feeling, and then the actions that we can take in these times that we're in. So thank you.